Right, we're going to talk one South African company before we go to break, and this one, of course, is our market leader in this environment, and that's Aspen. Now, we know this company well. It came out of the generic drug manufacturing industry in this country. Stephen Saad founded the business, but it has gone global, and it has done a number of acquisitions in countries like Australia. They're big into Asia, they're moving into Latin America. But in recent years, they've done a number of very chunky deals to buy their way into deep vein thrombosis drugs. So these are drugs that are used to specifically deal with people's tendency to get blood clotting in various parts of their bodies. So they're becoming a world leader in that space. They bought some production assets from European-based companies. They've also had a partnership with GlaxoSmithKline. Hasn't done all that well recently, though, so we've got to go into that a little bit. Let's talk market cap, though, just to set the scene. We're talking 113.1 billion rand. Not dollars, rand. So now you get the brain dividing by 15.8. PE of 21.57, even after a fairly poor share price performance. Dividend yield of 0.87. So, Byron, just summarize for us why it managed to get to 430 rands a share and then is now trading at 260. That's a bit.
So it obviously had that big hot streak leading all the way up to 2014. And I think if you actually look at their sort of announcements for 2014, you'll see a lot of deals coming through. And I think, you know, that sort of idea for the market that these guys they put their hand up to acquire non-core assets of a lot of the big drug companies around the globe and then sell them in the markets that they know very well, which is in South America, Australia pushing up into Asia, South Africa pushing up into sub-Saharan Africa. So they had niches in those specific geographies. 2015, very quiet year. No big deals really announced. I think they've been very busy behind the scenes.
And a period where people didn't know what the results were going to be. So they thought, well, they've done all those deals, let's see. And what they saw then wasn't quite as strong as hoped.
So the market was obviously anticipating harder earnings growth through those deals, but also more deals. Another important thing is the dollar. Now, a lot of their goods are priced in dollars, but they only have a small business in the US. So wherever the dollar is strengthened, which is basically everywhere, all those geographies selling in those currencies, they've been squeezed. So they are looking at expanding in the US.
Dollar denominated active pharmaceutical ingredients, and then they got to sell them in countries like South Africa where there's price fixing.
Or anywhere where they're selling which isn't dollar denominated is struggling against the dollar.
Something we haven't brought up yet is they've also got a big business in baby formula, right? So along the way they got quite big in that, got a couple of their own brands, bought some stuff from Nestle. I mean, that's got to be a good one because
they've sort of earmarked that as a big growth target. I know they were in big negotiations in China last year to buy a milk formula business, but it fell through. So we didn't really get all the behind the scenes details. But they have like production plants in New Zealand and then sell that off into Asia.
Which is what you got to do because the Chinese like it.
They don't trust the milk formula produced in China.
They want it from somewhere else. Okay, let's look at the chart because that will tell the story. So this has been a downward slide and people have been depressed about this. It's trading literally at 260 rands a share. But I don't really know what to say to people now because we've been hotting it all along. We've held it for a long time. We've entered it at various levels and now it's lower. Do we just sit tight and say to people, well, hang on there, great management team, good brands, good business, good pipeline, just be patient.
Stephen Saad's a big shareholder, so is Gus Attridge, you know. Big portions of their wealth are sitting in the stock. I don't think they're having sleepless nights over the share price every night. I think they're looking at what's happening behind the scenes. I think they're working very hard. I'm pretty sure we're going to see more deals come through at some point. You know, not the end of the world that they've quietened down. You know, when they pulled out of that deal at the end of last year, it does remind you that not every deal is going to be a good one. And because they have that kind of willpower to be able to say, listen, this isn't going to suit us, let's pull out and just be a little bit conservative at this point. And take the current business forward. That's what's more important. But I do think we're going to see some deals in 2016.
Okay, good. So we know we've been saying this for a long time. The share price hasn't done well.
Patience.
But we're still hot on Aspen. There you go. We still hold it in our portfolio.
And Stephen Saad's a big Sharks fan, so we can see how the Super 16 or whatever it's called these days does, and then judge. Because I feel like the share price of Aspen goes along with the Sharks.
The Sharks are going to win the Super 15. I'm sure of it. I can feel it.